Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a new podcast episode of the Cats and Rats podcast episode here, number 12. I think Cody and Nick can give me some numbers here of former Panther greats going through there. I didn't pull any up here today. Joined by my co-hosts here, Cody Stevens and Nick Levine. I'm your host, Kirby Lupul. Before we get into this wacky series that's kind of broken down here in the second round for the Panthers here, now up 2-1 in the series as of our recording here. We've got so much to talk about off the ice, guys. I don't even know if I want to start on the ice here. So let's kind of start off the ice here. And something that I saw from the Spitting Chicklets Network, let's call it, one of their games notes or whatever they call it, podcast episodes, calling out before Game 3, Alexander Barkov and Gustav Forsling, and they were going to get into their kitchen a little bit and get a little rough with them, maybe even if it had to be, after whistles, before whistles, those type of things. But then after Game 3, we saw quite a bit of a different reaction from the Bruins fan base, the media, things out there on social media. It's funny how those things work. And we'll get into all the breakdown of Games 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, Sam Bennett returning in Game 3. But Cody, Nick, where do you want to go with this first? I thought we'd go with some of the off-ice drama.
I mean, let's go with the hypocriticalness of this Boston fan base, shall we? I mean, you want you guys want to send a message, but we just sent a message and now we're dirty, huh? I mean, let's call out somebody, shall we? Jimmy Murphy, Boston Hockey Now. I mean, this guy, an absolute plug and an absolute hypocrite, because this guy tweeted before, after Game 2, actually, he tweeted about how the Bruins need to make Matthew Tkachuk feel pain, no matter what it cost.
That was the exact wording.
Let me pull up the exact wording for you.
Yep, go ahead.
That's the concise version, but he said something along those lines, saying that the Bruins need to make Matthew Tkachuk feel pain after what he did to David Pastrnak in the back half of Game 2. And I mean, come on, here it is. Some may call this advocating for violence, but it is what it is. The hashtag NHL Bruins need to make Matthew Tkachuk feel pain in Game 3. How that's done, I don't care. That's their choice, but it needs to happen.
Oh, so they use the word, it needs to happen. It is what it is. Can't we say that after Game 3? Just is what it is. It's playoff hockey, Bruins fans.
It is what it is to me, because, I don't know, first period, your captain tries to take a run at Sam Bennett, shall we? Tries to take a run. Bennett dumps it in and hits him with the old reverse hit.
And using Marchand's momentum into him,
Yeah, and he got hurt because of it, was out of the game, and is probably out for Game 4 now.
People don't know how solid of a player Sam Bennett is on the ice. I don't mean his ability. I mean, when he's standing there and you try to do something to him. Again, I knew a guy growing up that played just like Sam Bennett, and people try to take a run at him, and they couldn't move him. And then it's like you mess around, you find out. And that's what happens with Sam Bennett. It could have been worse. If you want to go back to the Tampa Bay games where Sam Bennett is bloodying Sergachev, people don't realize how tough this guy's. The Boston media and fans, Cody, they didn't even know who Sam Bennett was when he was out of the lineup. Yeah. Dave Portnoy going off about, we're going to come at Tkachuk. He's scared coming into the rink today, using those scared GIF emojis, the one from Parks and Rec or whatever that NBC show is, or whatever, with Alec Baldwin. And they're using all these GIF and memes. And the tweet that you just read out, Cody, was it is what it is. I don't advocate violence, but... And then after the game, they're complaining about what the Panthers did. But go back to the Barkov situation off the faceoff circle. They're the ones that initiated it and thought they were going to play the Panther game, but they can't play that game, Cody.
And here's the funny part. After the game, he wants to put out a poll saying, should Sam Bennett have received supplemental discipline for what he did to finish off his hit against Bruins captain Brad Marchand? Are you kidding me?
Should you receive supplemental discipline, Mr. Murphy, from your bosses and higher-ups by advocating violence in today's world? And there shouldn't be fighting in the game. There shouldn't be stage things. after the game. But, Jim Montgomery and Pasternak played just into it like Matthew Tkachuk. But Matthew Tkachuk in game 2, he's the rat. And he's the guy that only goes after people in his weight class. Last time I checked, Matthew Tkachuk and David Pasternak, they're superstar levels on the same level. And Pasternak ain't the size of Johnny Gaudreau or Brendan Gallagher or this player, that player. And I don't care if you're a professional hockey player, what size you are. If you want to run your mouth and come at someone, I don't care what size you are. You're going to be dealt with. So I don't care about this whole weight class thing and all that. We fight above our weight class. We fight in our weight class. If we want a little pipsqueak to come up to us, we'll fight him and take care of him too. I don't care. You want to have a goalie fight? We'll do that.
I mean, Nick, come on, man. This is ridiculous here.
Let's go, Nick. Bring
listen, all I'll say is this. I didn't see any tweets about Trent Frederick elbowing Evan Rodriguez in the back of the head 3 times. I didn't see anything about Brad Marchand, who just has a sterling history, right? I'm sure that finished hit wouldn't have resulted in anything else, right?
Who did he play with? Milan Lucic, Sean Thornton, our very own Sean Thornton.
I didn't see anything when he tried to slew foot Sam Reinhart in game 2. And who was the NHL player, Kirby? Was it Aaron Ward?
Yeah, that clip or that tweet out there, it was Aaron Ward.
The tweet out there that, should this not receive supplemental discipline, and tag the NHL Department of Player Safety. So, again, I just want to point out that none of this really started. There were 2 teams that were down 5-1. Both teams have been down 5-1 in games this series. The difference between the Panthers being down 5-1 in game 1 is nothing started really. There was they lost. They deserved to lose. They went off the ice. The Bruins, they're down 5-1. Oh, we got to send a message. It's 5-1, and you have guys going around, headhunting. And here's the other thing. Leah Hextall on the ESPN broadcasting game 2 said she saw Trent Frederick say, "Let's go." Kind of like, hey, doesn't matter, we're going to go here. Not like dropping the gloves, but, let's go, right? And, none of this would have started if, when the Bruins were down 5-1, they had just taken their loss like the Panthers did in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that didn't happen. And there was a bunch of talk in the media. Oh, how are the Bruins going to respond?
Thank you.
Right?
I wanted to get into that, Nick. The whole media, Sportsnet, ESPN, TNT. How are the Bruins going to respond? Not what the Panthers are doing to dominate parts of the series.
Right.
What are the Bruins going to do?
But my question was it was almost like a foregone conclusion, that the Bruins were just going to beat up on the Panthers in game 3. You just wait, right?
Yeah, who's the favorite in this series?
I'm just saying, Kirby, I think you said it. The Panthers aren't wearing blue and white, right? They're not the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're not just gonna again. Sure, that's what Boston fans are used to. The Toronto Maple Leafs, no, I don't want to say pushback, but I'll just say the mental fortitude and the mental toughness of our team. It goes well. Number one, I think.
And their fans are, just to jump in, Nick, their fans are still living in the past of what the yesteryear Florida Panthers teams used to look like. There are some Bruins fans and some media out there that do give respect for what the Panthers did last year. But if you just go out there on social media, Nick, you're at the game with a lot of Bruins fans in game 1 and game 2. I don't feel the overall respect for what this team has done this year, what they did last year, and collectively what they are as a team, and what they did without Bennett in the lineup. And then when Bennett comes back, there's no talk of that really outside of the Florida media.
Here's the other thing I wanted to say about this is obviously Boston, full respect to them. Obviously they're a very good team. They wouldn't be in this position if we're otherwise, but the Panthers, you see, the Panthers can play bully ball, Kirby. We know that, right? They've done it before.
No one else thought we could.
They could bully you, right? But at the same time, it's the Bruins are trying so hard instead of actually playing the game and focus on winning, to try to send a message and make a statement that they're playing right into the Panthers games. The Panthers have shown a great level of discipline and mental toughness, and just letting Boston do their thing. They'll run around, they'll do what they want to do, but the Panthers have done a nice job at staying disciplined in that outside of game 2, which is obviously, it's 5-1, game's over. But I thought in game 3, Panthers, they were laying big hits. And when Boston wanted to start extracurricular stuff, we did a great job at not doing that. Barkov took a couple shots, and, I saw a Bruins fan that said, oh, Oh, the hit by Morgan Geekie on Barkov, the interference call in game 3. Oh, that wasn't interference. It was less than a second. I'm like, do you know how to count? Like, are you kidding me? That
Just
was
made a
over 2
sandwich
seconds.
while he was waiting to get hit.
I mean, the puck was gone for what was it, Cody? At least 2 seconds.
Probably
Like,
5.
like there is, and again, I'm not
And
saying
that could be
all,
almost a clear intent to injure. That's borderline there.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and again, we'll get into how the team played earlier, but I just want to say that the mental toughness and the discipline the Panthers showed in game 3, they were going around and they were physical, but they were smart in their physicality. And that's something we really haven't seen through the regular season that I really have liked throughout this playoffs.
Yeah, but
We don't have to, Cody. We don't have to get into like each moment in each of these games.
I know,
but I do
but
want to
I
talk
just-
about a couple things. But Cody, I just want to throw at you before you go ahead with what you're going to say here. What do you feel about? Oh well, all the pundits and analysts picked the Panthers in the series, and picking it in 4, 5 games. That's really disrespectful and that type of stuff. We all picked the Panthers in 5, and they didn't look great in game 1 because they had that week's rest. But you see how they look in game 2 and 3. And again, they're not wearing blue and white. They look a lot better against the Boston Bruins of keeping shot suppression down and opportunities for the Bruins. And the Bruins, it ain't going to get done, Cody, if they're getting 5 shots, 6 shots through 20,
And we
30
saw
minutes.
that in the Toronto series. There was points in that Toronto series. I think it was game 5 and 6 of the first round for Boston. I think they had 3 shots through the first period in game 5.
they go like
And then
15 minutes without a shot.
and they like
15 minutes.
25, 30 minutes into games, and they have 5, 6, 7 shots, and
But
including
we're supposed to
too.
we're supposed to praise them because game 3 they had that big
Yeah.
pushback when they're down 4
The
goals.
big pushback if OEL doesn't fall down, that doesn't happen. Like
And
those were just nice shots. Like, and the other thing I want to point out, Boston only had 16 shots or 15 shots in game 2. So they're not
I have the
getting
breakdown per period right here. The last 6 periods for Boston. We're starting with game 2. Period 1, 6 shots. Period 2, 6 shots. Period 3, 3 shots. Now to game 3. Period 1, 3 shots. Period 2, 5 shots. Period 3, 9 shots.
That's not going to get it done. And even some of those are really not high danger chances unless the Panthers are like in game 1, which Cody, we could talk about a little bit, like turning pucks over. Game 3, OEL falling down. These are not a lot of like high danger chances. Game 2, that first period wasn't good by the Panthers. Pasternak was playing very well. Like some of their guys were playing like the stars that they are, but they haven't been there throughout the series. And the concerning thing, if you're a Bruins fan, should be they weren't there in the Toronto series. You had Marchand carrying a lot of load in that series. McAvoy was awful. Pasternak was awful till the game 7 overtime winner. They got goaltending, but again, Swayman looked good, but now we're starting to see maybe just the Leafs didn't test them like we are.
Yeah, but the thing
So
is,
Cody, like
the Bruins got away with so many mistakes in the Leafs series. We all watched it. I sat there, I'm thinking, oh, the Leafs should have burned them there, burned them there, burned them there. And now they're getting burned. And
if you remember after game 5 on this podcast, Kirby, I said a lot of the mistakes I'm seeing by the Boston Bruins are replications of what we saw last year in game 5, 6, and 7 in the first round when the Bruins played the Panthers. There's been a lot of talk. And again, game 4 has not happened yet. So we don't know how the Bruins will respond. But thus far, based off what I've seen, and I can only go off based off what I've seen, they said they learned from last year. I don't see the improvement.
And
you clown Bruin fans that say Brandon Montour isn't a star. Look up the numbers from last year's playoff. Look up now. He's outplaying your best defenseman, Charlie McAvoy, in 2 series now. You guys that say Sam Bennett isn't a difference maker, get a clue. Like all these takes on this team. We've got Jeremy Swayman and Ullmark. You could play one goalie at a time.
He ran over their best 2 players in his first couple shifts, and no one did a thing about it. And here's the thing. It's like right now.
Who's been laying on the ice, Cody, this series? Charlie McAvoy, Brad Marchand. Montour puts him on his butt on the shorthanded goal. And Pass has been on the ice too. That just tells me everything there.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just right now for Florida, it's been a complete difference, like in between it. Like right now, it's like McAvoy and Lindholm. Try and guess how many goals they've been on ice for these playoffs. Each of them.
Maybe
Just
double digits now. I
give
don't
me the
know.
number.
10.
Nick,
For McAvoy and Lindholm.
Lindholm. It's the same amount.
Um, 7 or 8, probably,
12.
right? Oh my gosh.
Oh.
And Kirby gives in our spaces. Kirby's very critical of our first.
How many goals have we scored this series?
What are you saying, Cody? I'm critical of what?
Like you're critical of the first pair, like from time to time, because the first pair should be your best pair.
Yeah,
And I
with our
understand
team. That's my standard. That's my standard of excellence for them.
And you can go pair to pair around the league and say, go to every pundit and say, hey, McAvoy, Lindholm, Forsling, Ekblad. Which pair are you picking? 90% of them would go Lindholm, McAvoy.
Yeah, without thought.
And Ekblad, Forsling, outside of game one, have been shut down as you can get. Like, Pasta, nothing. Like, they cannot develop anything. And this is why we all picked the Florida in 5. Because we thought we would see a game like game one happen.
Yep.
And
maybe not to that extreme. Maybe not to that extreme, losing 5-1, but you know.
And we also said that we wouldn't be like we were on the fence with 6 games. So like all of us stated that. We said 4 and 5, but
maybe Boston gets a game 4, a game 5.
Like exactly, like we said, wouldn't be surprised if it's 6. So kind of going around how maybe even better than I expected from Florida's side.
What Cody mentioned there about our first pairing. I saw a stat that showed not just in this series, but throughout the playoffs when the Bruins played the Maple Leafs. I think the shot differential in every period, Cody, the first, second, and third, they are in minus a shot differential, the Boston Bruins. And I'm not talking -2, -5, -8. I'm talking like it's in the 20s now.
It's an absolute travesty, especially for the Leafs that they lost to them. But like, and like, here's the thing: we faced a better team in round 1. Tampa's better than Boston. Like, we're watching it now. Tampa gave us way more of a fight than the Bruins are right now. And I guarantee you,
Boston's not hitting other levels like Tampa did, Cody, with the experience, with the top end talent. Again, like I said to people, Brad Marchand is not going to go off against us like he did against the Maple Leafs. This is a 36-year-old now, Brad Marchand. They're going to need Pasta, and you said this too, Cody, to win them games. And then we said their goaltending. Now, if their goaltending is what it was throughout these first few games, it's not going to get the job done.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: like as of this recording, a Boston reporter said Linus Ullmark was the first goalie off the ice for practice, which usually denotes that he's the starter for next game.
And what that's telling me is Boston is waving that white flag. And listen through to this closely. I understand they did the goalie rotation during the regular season. That plays into your depth and your team's strengths. But when you get to the playoffs, there's no salary cap. And when you have those 2 goalies on your roster, they tried to maybe move Ullmark to LA or New Jersey at the trade deadline. That is taking up all your salary cap to bring in other pieces that you're going to need on a long playoff run. And what they did in the playoffs was they're like, well, which I wanted them to do against Toronto, we should stick with Swayman here and not do the rotational thing because he's the hot goalie and let's run with him. But now we've got them to go back to the rotational goalie thing. And I personally think that means we have them. I know Ullmark has some good numbers against us historically, regular season, but we saw what we did against him in the playoffs. And I know he might have been
his
banged up.
His numbers are completely horrible.
And it's the thing, like, if they don't have a hot Swayman, is Ullmark now going to do that? You're starting to ask a lot from the Boston Bruins, and you talked about their first pairing and Lindholm and McAvoy. They got stuff to figure out in their own zone before they could figure out the goalie situation.
I also think that them going to Ullmark is not performance based off of Swayman. Like when you take a look, first of all, maybe like this is the most games consecutively Swayman has started. Remember, game 1 set a career high with 6, so game 3 would have made it 8. But I looked at our stats, Cody. We've scored 13 goals in this series. So you're both either McAvoy or Lindholm have been on the ice for 12 of them, which is
no. Like I mean, just 12 all playoffs, not just this series.
Oh, I thought you meant this series. Okay,
no, all playoffs.
So the main thing with the Ullmark Swayman deal is I think Swayman is the better goalie. I think this is not performance based. Why Montgomery's doing it, I think it's okay. We need a change. We need a spark, right? But again, at certain times, it's like there's so much Jeremy Swayman could do. Like Kirby, goaltending depth's great in the regular season, but as we said, all three of us, right? We've said you can only play one. There's only one goalie on the ice
And
in a
that's the
playoff
problem with
series.
us looking ahead to next
And-
year with potentially Spencer Knight on the
and-
roster with Bob Borowski.
There's no
Omar-
back-to-backs. There's no nothing, and
Yep.
that's it.
In Olmark's playoff stats, he is 3-6 with an .887 save percentage.
Yeah, and if you remember a couple years ago, I think it was Bruce Cassidy's final season in Boston. Olmark started the first two games of that series. They went down 2-0. Jeremy Swayman came in and he played outstanding. He took him to a game 7. So, and then obviously last year, the whole ordeal with Swayman. I mean, Olmark, was he hurt or not? But in my opinion, like you said, Kirby, if they're bringing in Olmark, and I'm not disparaging Olmark, I think he's a very good goalie, but if they're bringing him in, I don't see how Olmark could do any better, if at all, than Jeremy Swayman has done.
Cody, anything else on the goaltending front before we move on here?
Just I don't think it's the goalie's fault right now. And it's like I said last basis is that Jeremy Swayman needs hazard pay for what he's gone through this series, and I still stand on that. I don't think switching the goalies is going to do a thing.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. If we have to look at something not so on the glowing aspect of the charts of the ledger right now, as the Panthers of this recording lead the Boston Bruins 2-1 in the series, we go back to game 1, and I kind of want to give the floor to Cody here because it is his guy. I put some thought into this, and it would have been a hot take by me before the playoffs started, but I'm a big Money Montour guy, Brandon Montour guy. I think he's a gamer when it comes to playoffs. I think his floor ceiling is very safe. And his ceiling is even higher in the playoffs when you look at the regular season and how he's played defensively. I don't think there's a lot to worry about there. Cody, is there anything to worry about there with our first pairing, namely Aaron Ekblad in that first game? We saw where the charts were with Forsling and Ekblad there. They've never been historically that bad. I know it's just one game, but does that rear its ugly head again? Their ceiling is pretty safe, but the floor can look real bad. And I don't want to just put it all on Ekblad because he has a partner on the ice with him, and Gustav Forsling, who's having a renaissance career type season. Is there any worry there, Cody, with the first pairing that this could rear its ugly head again in this series or down the road?
That I feel?
Should I not worry about that? Yeah.
Or that I feel? I don't think so.
Okay, go on.
It's just with the first pair, we saw the floor. That game 1 was the floor.
That's bad. That's bad if that's Kulikov or OEL, Cody.
Yeah.
That's worse than the floor. That is like career bad. Like, you're not playing that way any other game in your career.
But career bad is the floor, though. So that is the floor. And when you say track record with Montour, and I'm going to use track record here for the first pair with my confidence, because last year they were shut down, physical, and just silent the entire way until, so the whole team really collapsed against Vegas. And
now, they weren't good in the regular season, but if you're talking playoffs, they rebounded their game and
then
played their best hockey in the playoffs.
And then this year, regular season, the first pair was good, even though Ekblad was on and off injured.
I'll say solid to exceptional in the regular season.
And then, here's why, because you have, moments like game 1, everyone in spaces, everyone on Twitter, everyone knew Aaron Ekblad was absolutely horrible. I mean, you could have put a pylon out there and he would have been better than him that night. But Aaron Ekblad can bounce back. He's exceptional status for a reason, a former Norris candidate for a reason, and he's done that in spades the last 2 games. Because the last 2 games, you notice a lot more of those Ekblad flips where he doesn't even ice it and they go get a change. He's doing it a lot more now, which is something that the system provides. Live to fight another day. That's how they got to the finals last year, and that's how they'll continue to play.
I'm with you there.
And you saw the first 2 periods of game 3. The first pair were exceptional.
Yep. Now there's a little bit at the end there. That was the first pair. A little bit leaky, weren't getting pucks out. So that wasn't the floor, but I didn't love that third. But the first 40 minutes, that's exceptional. But I again, it's the standard of excellence. I guess people get on Barkov. No one ever holds kind of Kachuk to that same standard. It's funny enough. But when it's the first pairing, I want them to be solid for pretty much the whole game. But like Cody, you're bringing up examples. That's not the case around the league if you look at guys. And the way that Charlie McAvoy's looked, of course, Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad collectively have a unit, if you take away that game one with Ekblad primarily. But also Forsling was out there on the ice, are a lot better than what Boston has iced across from us. And again, they have a good defensive unit. So I just don't know, like if we're playing Colorado, they're going to, again, we're looking way ahead here. I know, guys, but they come with speed, ferocity, strength. The Rangers, Nick, you can talk on them a little bit here, what you would see with them, as it's probably looking like the New York Rangers are going to be advancing to the Eastern Conference Final. Is that a problem when it comes to the first pairing, Nick?
I think it's more a problem with Colorado than it is. New York doesn't really kill you with speed, to be honest.
I think with New York, first of all, I just think Colorado is that good. Said this on Spaces, post-game and preview Spaces prior to the Boston series. Said, oh, all you have to do is control Colorado to the neutral zone, their speed. I'm like, yeah, that's not that easy. It's not that easy.
And Nick, people are looking at how they were in the regular season. They're a different animal in the playoffs. It's evident.
I know people are like, oh, they don't look that good in the regular season. They finished with 109 points. So I'd love to have a not looking great 109-point season, is, But the way, I just can't get out of my head the way Colorado played in round one. And
they've carried it over.
And they've carried it over. I know it hasn't been pretty against Dallas, but they split home ice against Dallas. So,
but Dallas again was the odds-on favorite for some people to win the Stanley Cup.
But as far as the Rangers go, I think they have a little bit of everything. I think they have a physicality element. I think they do have some speed, physicality, heavy element to the game. They also have the star power, and Laviolette's done a really nice job over there. And when all else fails structure-wise, they have Igor Shesterkin back there to,
And remember, this is the same coach that coached the Washington Capitals. I know it was under the Brunette system, so Cody, I get that point.
And a lot of the personnel is different.
But Forsling and Ekblad didn't look good with that Laviolette play system,
Yeah, but
where you try to get through the neutral zone, they're going to put it in your corner, and they're going to ram you through the boards. So you got to move that puck and get out of there.
Here's a caveat to that series. They were both playing with partners that they never really played with prior to that series, besides Forsling. And Forsling was playing with...
I also think the personnel that Washington had then was a lot different than the personnel New York has this time around. Now, you could assume a guy like Matt Rempe would more than
you don't think Washington... Remember, they didn't have Thomas. You don't think Washington then played with physicality and a forechecking system, and then they had skill-based guys? Ovechkin, a Carlson that was younger, Oshie that was younger. They had skill. Kuznetsov.
I think it was more our inexperience then, and obviously some certain players
behind the bench.
Inexperience behind, but personnel and inexperience behind the bench is really the reason for that. I think, like I said, Kirby, I've tweeted out this week when there were some people complaining about the power play. Power play was at around 23.5%. Coming into round two, they had a bad game one, as did the whole team. And there were a bunch of people saying, get Montour off, this, that, the other thing, right? Which, hey, everybody has their own opinion and respect them for that. But I said, first of all, a bunch of people that were down about our team after game one. I said, number one, I trust Maurice and I trust the players to make the needed adjustments and to bounce back. And lo and behold, we have 5 power play goals in our last 2 games, in games 2 and game 3. And we've bounced back, and, we have probably looked but hopefully, and arguably the best we've looked all year these past in games 2 and 3.
And I have a hot take concerning the power play here.
Yeah.
I'll explain my reasoning behind this. I think one of these next 2 games, we're going to get a bumper play Reinhart power play goal. And it's because on the power play currently, we have scored in so many different ways without involving Reinhart that he will become open. Because let's look at it. Barkov down the slot, top cheese. Then the first one, the Tarasenko, that was a wicked shot by Tarasenko on the power play goal that really gave Panthers the momentum in the back half of that second period in game 3. But then you had Verhaeghe out in front with a little tip from a Kachuk pass that's on the goal line. And then Montour, who I've been screaming from the heavens to do this, finally fires that one timer, and it goes top cheese in the back of the net. So now
he had been doing the Tampa Bay series, Cody, but Vasi was making blocker saves, and it was kind of Montour wasn't getting the puck elevated.
I also wanted.
So I want to be clear on that, but he's been doing better hitting the net than he has been
Right.
at points in the regular season.
And as far as the power play goes, obviously, like Tarasenko, we brought him in, a lot of discussion at the time, do you mess with the chemistry? And Tarasenko was kind of fitting seamlessly. And just wanted to shout out a couple of individual players from games 2 and 3. Obviously, Sam Bennett came back, but Alexander Barkov has 7 points in 3 games this series. He's at 64% in the circle. He's been outstanding. Brandon Montour has 5 points, including 2 goals in the 3 games in this series. And some other guys, Steven Lorentz, Stenlund, Cousins, and Opozo, those fourth liners. That was a big point last year. The Panthers in the offseason looked to get bigger, a little bit more depth. They got Stenlund, they got Lorentz, and Lorentz, Kirby, didn't play a while in that regular season, about 25, 30 game stretch. He didn't play at all.
Yep.
And he stuck with it. There was even discussions between us around the trade deadline, like, does this guy get waived, And
well, because he wasn't in the rotation.
Because he wasn't in the rotation. And, he's really like the fourth line. I talked about it a lot after we lost the Stanley Cup final to Vegas last year on our spaces and in other places as well. And it's making such a difference, man. Like, you see, like, we're getting offenses and pressure time from our fourth line. They're creating scoring chances. They're actually producing goals and, the cycle game. And I know a lot of people love Ryan Lomberg, right? And trust me, he's a heart and soul guy. I love him for what he's done for this team, right? But right now, and I said this on Spaces, he's not one of the 12 best forwards on this team right now, especially with the personnel we're playing against. And, right now,
Maurice wants the centers out there. That's why Nick Cousins got scratched. So,
and again,
not even in the top 14.
But he might not be. He might not even be in the top 13, right? So he might be our 14th forward right now. And as much as that disappoints some Panther fans, that's just the reality of it. And we're going to need to have that size on the fourth line, especially in this series against Boston, if we're gonna have success and roll 4 lines. And shout out to Dmitry Kulikov. A lot of heat during the regular season as well. And he has played great, not only in this series, but throughout this whole playoffs.
Yep. Anything else as we go on the way out here? We had a lot of stuff to break down. We'll continue to talk about this as the series develops here. We'll see how long it goes. But the whole lick gate with Brad Marchand. Brad Marchand is right now scheduled to be out of the Bruins lineup, likely with concussion symptoms.
Probably get news on that in the morning skate prior to game 4.
And everyone that's listening to this will probably have that by then.
I wonder if he's out. I wonder if the Bruins throw in like their extra forward or they go 11-7.
That could be an interesting, because who would be their 7th? Would Shattenkirk draw in probably? Or Wotherspoon?
They had Peak back in there too, who was coming off injury.
Wotherspoon was the odd man out. And I don't think fans
Peak played great. He might be back out, but they could do that rotational thing. Like
I liked Wotherspoon in round 1 against Toronto, so we'll see if he draws back.
Every defenseman was good in round 1 against Toronto. But
anything else, guys?
Feeling good about the rest of the series.
Yep.
Well, before we go, I just want to let everyone know, make sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify. You'll see when the new episode is up. If you're subscribed to us, please give us 5-star rating if you can. We really appreciate that. And any reviews that you write as well, that would be awesome. I just want to mention before we go here, CanesWear, our sponsor, they were at the Panthers watch party for the Game 3 victory. So it was nice to see them there. And of course, we always share their stuff in our Jumbotron. We go live after every post game, so they've got deals going on there quite a bit here in the playoffs, and we just want to let you know Panthers Fever is here. Are you geared up? CanesWear in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. CanesWear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or always visit them online at Panthers Wear. Again, that's PanthersWear, WEAR.com. You could check out all their items there. They have so much items, discounted items, old stock from last year, new collection coming in this year. And if you're following me on the Twitter X platform at KJ_Loops, LUPS, we do some unboxing videos there. So you'll see what their newest items are. So again, that's PanthersWear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear. And as we go out, as we always say, let's go Cats.